All right, it is 4:43. We will call the meeting to order. This is the Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 meeting of the City of Blue Lake Economic Development Commission. We have a quorum, item 1. Item 2, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Any public input on the agenda? Seeing none, we have,
Who's going to do the second?
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor of approving the agenda?
Yep.
Yep. And we have another meeting coming up at what time?
6:30.
6:30.
So we should try to zip through this so you can have
Yeah.
a life.
Yeah, be a problem. Okay. Item 3, was there public input. Item 3, the public is invited to present petitions, make announcements, or provide other information to the commission that is relevant to the scope of authority of the City of Blue Lake that is not on the agenda. The commission may provide up to 15 minutes for this public input session. To assure that each individual presentation is heard, the commission may uniformly impose time limits of 3 minutes to each individual presentation. The public will be given the opportunity to address items that are on the agenda at the time the commission takes up each specific agenda item. At this time, there is no public or input. Moving on to item 3, the minutes from the February 11th commission meeting, which are enclosed in the packet. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor of approving the minutes?
I so approve.
Ayes. We have minutes and there's no public to comment on the minutes. So we'll move on to item 5, the battery energy storage system project update and discussion.
Yeah, so I wanted to give the commission an update on where we're at in the process. I put together kind of a dated slide presentation for the Public Safety Commission, and I had planned for something at PEC, but we didn't have a meeting last month. So I wanted to feed this information to you guys today. And this information is posted on the city's website as well. But it's just kind of a update based upon questions that we've received from the community, and just trying to, get correct information out, and resources out for community members to be able to take a look at this project from a, kind of a legitimate form of, of relevant and reliable information. So some of the questions that we had seen in the community, was about the size and scope of the project, and there was some confusion and misstatements about, this being a 100 megawatt project and an industrial size scaled project. The project has designed and as can be accommodated with the infrastructure that exists on the site is an up to 20 megawatt project. It's pretty small, based upon the size of the containers and kind of how the battery setups are in the containers. It's probably between 10 and 15 pistol units, because they kind of go from like 1.3 to 1.4 megawatts per container. But as we know, batteries are getting much bigger, they're getting way more efficient. So at the time would ever be built, which would probably be 18 months to 2 years, whole industry could be changed. I mean, these pedestal units could be, much smaller and have a kind of a different um, position even of battery types. I've heard now that, they're producing batteries that can charge your electric vehicle in like 5 minutes. It's just become every day the technology is changing and getting better and more efficient. So that was one of the questions, the size and scope. We did do a tour up at the airport microgrid. Some people attended that. It's really a great place if you haven't gone up there to see. It's a good opportunity to see what these systems actually look like, and to get a real world, on the ground exposure to what these containers look like and what we're proposing. So that's a really great local opportunity to see There is a BESS going in also on Poplar Avenue. So that project is under construction right now, and that will be a microgrid.
That's what that is. That is, but okay, I've been drunk by that.
Yeah, so that's out in kind of the ag property with Sun Valley, but they'll have solar
Right next to
panels, sprays.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So that's another opportunity to see. Some of the other questions, were where are these systems at? These systems are located all over, and they are located, we do have these locally, but, this is a little bit bigger system. The 20 megawatts, a lot of municipalities and individual systems might be maybe just 1 megawatt or a couple. A lot of the local municipalities have battery mega packs to run like their wastewater treatment plants and for resiliency backup systems.
So this would work for island moding for us.
Yeah, so one of the
'Cause the generators get loud.
yeah. So what looking at is it looks like the system transmission line is on the city's property, and that's the value. It's the valuable asset is that transmission line. The problem is it's really only valuable for, someone who wants to do kind of a larger scale industrial use or an energy project. If you were to look at that
And those
transmission
would be
line,
pretty filthy.
you can, and they're because they're high voltage, your setbacks for development are much greater. They have so there's a
It impacts the space more.
so depending on what you want to use property for, it can either be an asset or a liability. For most uses, it's a liability just because of
Or
the
cogen or something
yeah.
like that.
But for a limited application of like an energy project or something, then you need that larger transmission line. That transmission line goes from power plant down the levee over to the substation that's located up by just past the cemetery. So, and then the substation feeds Blue Lake. So it would be possible, and this, you have to work with PG&E and everything to get them.
Is there other infrastructure?
There is the capacity for those batteries to feed back enough power to the substation to feed Blue Lake. In the event that power went out, theoretically, those batteries could feed Blue Lake for, they said, maybe 4 days of power. So that would be, that's definitely a plus. That's resiliency, community resilience.
When you talk about lines from the power plant to the substation, were those lines put in when the power plant was a power plant?
Yeah, and they were upgraded over the years to be able to transmit the power out
Okay.
that they were generating.
Is that wire?
Yeah, yeah. So it's just a much larger. So you have like your lines out here that are just more of your distribution lines. And so those take power and then from the substation and then distribute out onto these smaller systems, the smaller lines that we normally see. Transmission lines are the big ones. Those are the big capacity energy carriers. So you'll see those going up the 299, going up the hill by Ferry Summit. There's a big transmission system going up there. So they've got to carry.
If you're driving south on 101.
Yeah, so you'll see the
They're a
some
lot
great big
bigger.
ones.
yeah,
Thicker.
yeah, and much taller, and so
Lines are
that's.
farther apart on the poles
Mhm.
'cause they
But what we have here, these are just these are distribution lines. So these are kind of the big transmission lines takes the power to a substation. The substation kicks it out on the distribution
So the
lines.
lines
to the-
that need to be replaced.
No.
there were some citizens who were concerned about it being in the floodplain.
Yeah, so the power plant is definitely none of Taylor Way is in the floodplain.
Okay.
It's not.
If you
It's
look at the
out.
new maps,
It's outside of. I think it's outside of the 500-year floodplain. I mean, it's protected by a levee. So there is no. It's not in the flood zone at all. So that's not an issue.
If it was a flood that was big enough to wipe that stuff out, that'd be probably the least of our problems. Is what I'm saying.
oh yeah, high
If-
for the city.
Gone.
Yeah. If the levee were to break, those batteries would be no different than the vehicles that would be exposed, the batteries floating down from your lawnmowers or anything else that would be impacted by floodwaters.
Mhm.
They're in a case, they're in a concealed, case. There's no liquids in the batteries or things that are gonna, break and leak and, do all these, have all these volatile activities. Um, there would be a lot of contamination if there was a levee breach or the dam failed. There would be that's a catastrophic event, and yeah, those battery packs would be the least of everyone's concerns at that point.
You'd have a problem with the sewage treatment plant.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if something like that happens, you're right. It's
Yeah.
at least a
Yeah.
Blue Lakes problem.
We've never had, flood issues down there. We've had flooding on Hatchery Road
Mhm.
from it blowing out at the end of Charton, and that's more of a maintenance issue. And we have a creek restoration project that we're working on that is specifically for flood mitigation. So that's being addressed. But as far as like the river doesn't come in and come over,
Not anymore.
no,
No.
no, that's all been changed. The hydrology's been changed. So we're confident, and even if we're not confident, the flood maps show that it's clearly outside of any flood hazard zone. I mean, it had a power plant for, 35 years.
Yeah.
It has,
And
I mean, there's chemicals down there. There's massive diesel tanks and propane tanks.
What do we risk if we do versus what do we risk if we do
Mhm.
not? If
Yeah.
we risk if we don't do something is that site is going to not get cleaned up and it
Yeah.
will remain an attractive nuisance and a
Right,
hazard to
right.
community.
Yeah. And it's just deteriorating every day. There's pieces falling apart. It's rusting. It's just a danger zone. So,
Some of the pictures that you showed for the tagging
mhm,
was pretty impressive.
yeah.
And one of the things that I thought if you have it, it's a nuisance. So
Mhm.
what if that person who did the tagging fell into one of the deep
Absolutely.
wells?
Yeah. I
And
mean, there's definitely, you always have liability. We minimize our exposure through signage, through fencing, through, public awareness, through lighting, all those things, but there's still always an exposure. Um, it's just the way of the litigious world we live in. Um, but so some of the other questions, like I said, were about where these battery packs are located. There's multiple battery packs located at the Rancheria. They've had them there for quite a while. So they from their microgrid, they have Tesla packs down there. And that helps with, to operate their systems. Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District at Essex has a mega pack. Uh, it's their backup power for their turbidity reduction facility. And it's right there on the river. Um, Pretty much every municipality except for Blue Lake got in on a deal. Some of the smaller ones didn't, but Fortuna, McKinleyville, I believe Arcata, Eureka. Tesla had a kind of a promotional program where it was kind of like a grant financing option to get a Tesla mega pack for resiliency for your critical infrastructure. And so most of the municipalities were able to get a mega pack for like their treatment plants and stuff.
Mhm.
So Fortuna has them, Eureka has them, Arcata, Cal Poly Humboldt has them, Airport Microgrid. There's multiple mega packs there. Um, and then, of course, they're just scattered throughout the nation and the world. Because really, it's really kind of the stopgap measure. It's really that missing link for renewables. We can produce a lot of energy through renewables, but if we can't capture it and sequester it so we can use it when they're not producing, that's when we lose.
Yeah,
And then,
is it? Yeah.
so yeah.
So is the Rancheria adding to their project over there?
I believe they have plans to continue to add.
Okay,
Um,
because I
from
kind of heard something that from I was talking to an individual, and
yeah.
they said that they are actually hoping to go into the grid.
Oh, yeah, probably.
So
I know Paskenta, they had raised concerns from the brewery side about the batteries and potential contamination and things. But the Paskenta tribe actually received I believe it was $32 million grant from the Department of Energy and they just put in a microgrid with a battery with a BESS, and it's a 15 megawatt BESS, so it's just a little bit smaller than what we have. And that's actually on their lands to help run their casinos and their facilities and their admin offices, and it's all part of their resiliency plan to be able to be, if things go down and, then they can keep things functioning with those batteries and the solar. So they have much, kind of the same type of setup as like the airport microgrid, but with more, battery storage. So I thought that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
with hospitals and schools
oh yeah, the
having
hospitals
them.
all have
Well,
them
this
too.
one will be owned by a third party.
Yeah, so the proposal
And they're
on
going to
the
make
table.
money selling power back to the grid.
Yeah, so how all this came about was the city has been working with Redwood Coast Energy Authority for a number of years to look at a battery storage project. We knew we were going to inherit the plant at some point, and we were going to need to leverage the assets of the plant to try and get it cleaned up. And the only asset on that plant site really is that transmission line. And so we looked at, what would be the highest and best use of that. And, we talked about batteries, and that's kind of been a gap for CA for their energy portfolio as well. They've bought a lot of energy through solar and wind and things, but it's the same thing when the winds aren't blowing or the sun isn't out, then you have to turn back those old power plants on, and those are the kind of the heavy producers of emissions and things, the dirty polluters. So the goal had been to get more battery storage so that, we don't have to have that reliance. So we actually entered into an agreement with RCA a couple of years ago to help represent us for these types of projects because they really have the expertise and we really didn't. So we've been looking at this opportunity for quite a while. RCA recently released a request for proposals for battery um, production for storage. So they're going out and they want to buy more battery storage as part of their portfolio. And so that set up the opportunity for someone to work with Blue Lake because they also wanted to try and go local. Um, and the main opportunities for local would be Blue Lake and DG Fairhaven because we both had old power plants. And so we had the infrastructure that could, it's kind of a plug and play, easy, and it helps to bring in the money to clean up those sites and transition those old sites over into renewable energy. It helps, the local economy. So it's a real win-win. So that's when that started getting talked about is when Power Transitions reached out to the city and said, hey, we'd like to partner with you in some way to respond to this, proposal from RCEA. We want to bid on it, but we need a site and you guys have a site and we would like to buy it from you. And it was like, yeah, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for someone to help us do this. So the the way it's being structured is what's posed is that Power Transitions would purchase 2 acres of the property. The property is 20 plus acres, and we've had that property appraised and we've appraised it as if it was a clean site. So like what's its highest appraised value? And then that value would be applied against cleaning up the whole site. Not all the chips because we just can't really, we haven't
They'll
quite
break
figured
down
that out.
eventually.
Eventually, it's for kitchen part.
Could that be a training session though? I mean, for the fire department?
Yeah, there's just so much,
Oh.
honestly, and it's wet and it's rotting.
Probably really stinky.
Yeah,
It
Be
smells.
really smoky.
yeah.
Yeah. Ew.
Fumes reduction.
Well, what it is good for though is carbon sequestration. So farmers take that type of material and spread it on their properties, and then they can get carbon credits.
Oh,
And so it's really good for your soil. So we've got a lot of people who are interested in it. They just want us to deliver it to them, and that's where
Yeah, no, the
we've got to
labor hauling
find.
is
Yeah, so the
heavy
hauling
as well.
costs are substantial. So we have to find kind of more of a short haul option, but we're working towards that. But the the property that needs to be cleaned up is much larger than the 2 acres. But like I said, the proposal is, to purchase the 2 acres. In exchange for that purchase, they
They
would
would
clean
do an
up.
purchase option first.
Yeah, so we have a
See if they can PG&E will even sign off
yeah.
on it.
So those are kind of the off ramps. So we could enter into an option agreement with them. Off ramps for that agreement would be failure to, you know, be selected by RCA.
Contingencies.
Yeah, all those contingencies are opportunities for us to back out of the agreement. So we've had the property appraised. We've seen a couple of drafts. There were some mistakes early on just because the zoning had changed and the information that the appraiser had was the old zoning. So we had to kick it back. So we're looking at a final appraisal right now. And it's appraising for, it's appraising for a good amount that I think, it
So
seems,
they'll pay taxes on that amount?
well, they'll pay taxes on the full build out amount, which is like a $25 million investment.
Oh, well, that,
So property taxes alone can be
because
substantial.
there was a 28,000 a quarter of lost revenue that we were replacing in
Yeah.
rents from the power plant.
Mm.
Okay.
So,
Wow, that'll be nice. I
and
think it'll be nice.
the nice thing about it is being able to have them clean up the site. If the city does it, we have to pay prevailing wage
Yes,
because it comes under a public works contract. That's 30 to
30 to
40% more.
40% more.
So if we do it through this type of structure, they are actually the ones running the contracts and stuff. So what we've been working with Power Transition is we've been getting demolition quotes from qualified contractors, and then doing the appraisal
And
so
they'll
that the
still have a
city knows.
financing contingency on this too. They'll have to clear all that they're going to have
That's
a
all
lender
part of
work.
their submittal that they sent to
So
RCEA.
there's another layer of review that's
Absolutely.
probably pretty rigorous.
RCA,
Additional
yeah,
permitting.
RCA has a professional firm that specializes in reviewing these types of projects that they send it to. They go through, they look at all their finances, their proposal, their performance, their projections, all of it. So that's another layer of protection for the city. If RCA comes back and says, hey, these guys are like,
They can't do it.
then, that's great. Then we know too,
Yeah.
and we're not out anything at that point. But if they come back and they say, hey, this looks like a solid project, they have solid financing, they have the experience, moving it forward, then that's a good sign for the city. So they've made all their submittals to RCEA, and so we should be hearing, I think, end of this month or mid-May, kind of whether they move to the next stage of the review process and stuff. So
So one of the things they talked about it, they wanted to have it done quickly.
we want to demo quickly.
Okay,
Yeah.
but as far as for them to apply,
Oh, the option agreement. Yeah.
yeah,
So in order to apply to PG&E, so not only do they have to apply to RCA, they have to apply to PG&E as well to study the transmission substation to make sure that everything can
Still
work.
works. Or,
And PG&E only opens that opportunity twice a year. They open it in March and they open it in September. And so they were hoping to get in on the March
yeah.
review. And it's a pretty expensive process. Like they have to put up huge deposits and stuff to pay for these studies. I mean, it's like
the
um,
development is expensive.
and PG&E wanted to see state control.
Okay.
And so that's why they were pushing for the option agreement in March or some type of agreement that would grant them some level of site control so they could get in on the March submittal. Or they would have to move to the September submittal, which pushes everything out further, which, just
At
kind of
least 6
lengthens
months.
everything. Because it'll take PG&E a while to go through that study process. We were able to write a letter to PG&E, and council came back and said they weren't comfortable moving forward that quickly, and we would just have to settle for the September unless we could figure out something else that could satisfy PG&E. So we ended up writing PG&E a letter and just saying, we have an exclusive right to negotiate. The city is very interested and supportive of this project. We're working with RCEA, although we don't have an option agreement. We do support this moving forward for the study to get the
To see if it's
information, to
viable.
see if it's
Mhm.
viable. And I think PG&E is moving that forward. So that was good because I think they asked them to put their deposits up. So
And the council was supportive of that direction?
I think the council overall seems to be supportive of the project moving forward through the process, the vetting process, and
Okay.
they're very interested in this project. they just aren't comfortable making, the
There's not
quicker
enough
decisions. There's
information
not,
to
yeah,
make a
yeah.
commitment.
So, it's a kind of a weird place to be in, a brand new council. It's a big project. And then, of course, we had, a lot of, you know, um,
Well, I'm grateful that we're advisory and not having to make a decision. We can like kick things around all day, but
Right.
it's like, but to make a decision, that's hard.
yeah, yeah. So that is continuing to move through. We should be sitting down with council soon and going through the appraisal, and we have the demolition costs. And everything looks good. Um, and it would be great just to get out from underneath that power plant, and the scope of the project's pretty small when you look at the footprint of it. I mean,
It's just the power plant is a lingering reminder of the long-term consequences of development that is not,
yeah,
I don't know how you account for everything in a project, but
yeah.
the end of the life of that power plant is expensive.
Yeah, and I think it's a clear reminder too of making sure that we have good legal, you know, constraints around projects like that. When you look at the contract that we had for that, I mean, there was no protections for the city. And in the end, we ended up with the full mess. And, so um, yeah, it's something that we're all hyper cognizant of is making sure there's as
Let's
many
not do that again.
protections. The other side of it, though, is we leased that property, and we didn't sell it. If we had sold it, it would
Then
be
they
a
would have had.
whole different ballgame. They would be liable for it. There would be, bankruptcy, attachments. There would have been a lot more that the city could have done as far as, forcing cleanup and things. But because they leased it, they filed bankruptcy, walked away from, the LLC and just left us with the mess, So, and if
Lessons
Power
learned.
Transitions
Yeah.
did this project and walked away, big deal. They're going to walk away from 15 pedestal battery containers. Like, it's nothing compared to walking away from this massive plant that, we just got left with.
Multi-year cleanup.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So honestly, is it better to sell or is it better to lease? I mean, in some respects,
What do
it's
you risk
really
if
bit
you do,
us.
and what do you risk if you do not?
Yeah. So, um, and we've been planning for this everything we've done and master planned was planned with this type of project factored in. So we've always carved out a little space, knowing that there would be something there.
Can they put a
So
mural on them so they're
they
not so
said,
boring?
yeah, they said they can do anything. They can put they said they
Wraps are kind of
always do
expensive, but
fencing, they always do security. They're like, we can plant around the whole thing. We could
neighborhoods.
do
Can we get like ceanothus and some stuff
yeah, and they
really
said
pretty over
you
there?
could do murals around it, like whatever you want to do. But really, they're going to look so small in comparison to that large site. When you really look at the footprint of it, like those pedestals are small. They're 6 foot wide, 20 feet long, and like 9.5 feet tall is all. So I mean, you could fit almost all of them in this room.
And if you have enough vegetation around them and stuff, they will
Yeah,
disappear. And
yeah.
if you do a mural, then you're going to notice it.
Okay.
I like murals though.
Yeah.
And you paint it to look like the Riverview.
Oh, there's a trunk Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those would be great. So then Dwayne used to do those flat mo. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at in the process right now. I think we've been able to really talk to a lot of people in the community and, people who, um, there's been a lot of people who've just come in and sat down with me and talked about it and, have gone out and done more research. People have gone and, toured facilities, which is great. I know RCA is going to be doing some outreach, some community outreach, because everyone in the battery industry got hammered pretty hard after Moss Landing.
As
Yeah.
You know,
was warranted
well,
for
yeah,
that.
Moss Landing is horrible. I mean, it's the largest battery storage facility in the world. It was, I mean, it was massive. It was inside an old
And that is
building.
that in the coastal zone?
Probably. I mean, it was at an old power plant. I mean, those
Yeah.
are all industrial sites. Those are still operating power plants.
Okay.
So, but I mean, the
mean,
whole thing was contained
it's
inside a
not
building. There was
nuclear
no fire
power, but
suppression. There, you would just never
And
build
different
something like
types of
that.
battery.
Different types of battery.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the biggest scale, like you can imagine, I'm like, we're not even a blip,
Wow.
so it's not comparing apples to apples to compare this project to Moss Landing, but that's what everyone's being subjected to is that worst case scenario. And so being able to have, good information and accurate information, talking about fire standards and talking about, suppression methods and thermal runaway and types of batteries and these are individual pedestal mounted systems. If one of them catches on fire, they're not in a string. So it's not like one catches on fire, the next one, they're isolated.
and that's be fenced
Yeah.
with security.
I mean, I think of it as like I pull into a parking lot with my electric vehicle and I'm parked next to 10 more electric vehicles. If mine catches on fire, they're going to cool all around me, the other vehicles, and they're going to let mine burn for the most part. That doesn't mean that every electric vehicle in the parking lot is going to catch on fire, or we shouldn't drive electric vehicles because they have the potential. It's really the same thing. People put battery packs on their houses, and they have caught on fire. I've been to couple of fires with batteries and solar panels and things. I've been to quite a few electric vehicle fires, but we don't stop driving them. We work to make them better.
Mhm.
And if you think of the probably millions of EVs on the road now, the number that catch on fire is relatively small. So you have to work with. But I've been to more vehicle fires. More Dodge Ram trucks that have caught on fire than anything. So you got to kind of keep it in proportion and context. It's not to say that it can't happen, but you do what you can to minimize that, and then you
Well,
prepare for
there's
the
nothing that's
eventuality.
going to have a zero fire risk. And
That power plant could catch on fire. The fuels at DG and Samoa catch on fire. You can have industrial accidents and things, but that's why you have safety plans and you have standards and you have protocols and, in place because nothing is, zero risk. So I think the best thing for us is to, go to look at it from, the best way that we protect our community without compromising our ability to have some success with this project and get out from underneath power plant.
well,
It's
it
getting
would
out.
be really cool to free that site up for something
I mean,
more
I really wanna
interesting.
get the RV parking campground out on the market, and I've been a little bit hesitant to just get it out until we knew more about this battery project because it's much more viable when you could say that's all going, that's going to be gone, and then we have all of this to work with, and to say, by the way, we kind of have this power plant, and we
We're
have this
hoping. We're hoping. Yeah.
yeah. So
But do you think that the community is starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with the concept?
I think so. I've had so many good conversations with people that have had legitimate concerns, but have brought them from a legitimate place as well. And, and we've had really good conversations or have gone out and done some research or talked to people. So
This
I,
is the time
yeah,
to get it all out there.
yeah. So I do feel like, I mean, no one's here today.
Lunch.
Yeah, I feel like even, people who had the biggest concerns, we were able to, take that information and say, I did the research, this is why it's not, and, this is what we're talking about. This is, the actual versus hypothetical.
So it's come a long way from the
I think
public
so,
meeting.
yeah.
The public meeting was a little bit like
That was
pitchforks.
contentious. Yeah.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because I think there was a lot of good information that people could have taken away from that, but it was just overshadowed by,
Well, there were some good comments. There were some good, thoughtful
yeah,
comments. Hmm.
yeah.
And I do like to see engagement.
Yeah, I think it just has to be legitimate though, like it's talking about what a real project is versus, worst case scenario, something that is definitely not.
You're right, because misinformation, once it's out there and circulating, it gets repeated and people believe things, and so it undermines the process.
It does,
Just
yeah.
figuring out what is
Mhm.
trying to happen
It
here.
makes you feel like you're, for me, it's like, do they believe me? Can I be believed? It's like And then you feel like you're trying to like not gloss it over, but address it in a way that, it's like, am I manipulating information or, it just puts
Yeah.
you in an awkward place
No
too
matter
to
what
be
you
like,
do, there's going to
yeah,
be somebody
yeah.
who is
It's like,
going to
but we're not
feel that
doing that. And it's
conspiracy
like, well,
theory.
I heard that you
Yeah.
are,
Well, there's a
then,
lack
but
of
now I can't
trust.
believe you because this person told me you were doing this, and now you're telling me, like, who can I believe? And it's like, oh gosh, you start to lose your community credibility, and that's really unfortunate too. That's been really tough to have to deal with.
It
But
I'm sure has been.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Ouch.
it's all right. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, this is a really nice handout that you have.
Yeah, that's
And
more information. We'll continue to update and, just provide, first, you need a packet.
yeah, I like it. What
Okay,
you've
thank
done
you.
is very nice.
So, I know we're trying to release you before the next meeting. Um, so is there any more comment about
No, I just
and the public is not here today, though I'm sure they will have an opportunity to air more comments and gather more information as the process goes on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so we'll move on to item 6, the cannabis retail ordinance discussion, and that was a handout that had come out before. I don't see it in this packet. But
I did go visit
yeah,
a cannabis dispensary in Arcata and kind of asked a few questions. And the lady who owns it, I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's where the plumbing place used to be.
yes.
I've been in there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And she specializes in organic Humboldt County grown weed. And so she has a niche, and I was kind of talking about competition, and she said, well, yeah, our owner has a lot of pride in what she grows. It's organic and it's dry farmed, so it doesn't use water. And so they have built a niche around their stuff. As far as the gummies and the mints and all that stuff, I'm not really sure where those are made. So, but the pot that she sells is local, organic, dry farmed, and people really appreciate her product for those reasons.
I can't remember the name of the place though.
Which one? Where? Huh?
It's the one that's it was the old plumbing supply
where,
place.
Mad
And
River Plumbing was?
yeah, and
I don't remember the name.
you don't remember the
There are quite a few dispensaries in the county already.
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, that was their info, is that they have a niche, and that uh, keeps them a little different from other people. So
And they really have a lot of knowledge when you talk going in there
they really
to
do.
sell things.
Mhm.
I appreciate that when I have writers.
That's a nice alternative to opioids for pain management. Um, so what is the next step for this? Is just to try to get the council. I mean, I know they're busy.
Yeah. It's really not on the radar right now.
Not hugely on the radar.
They're kind of keeping it on here so that we eventually, can,
Discussion.
or if we want to, like, at some point, just formulate
I think it could
recommendation.
be, I think it's a good fit, and I think it supports a lot of Humboldt County businesses that are very much struggling at the
Yeah.
moment.
Well, and I think, the recommendation is really whether it should be allowed, not whether we would be, there's no one that's actively interested, but
Where would they, at this point, with no Powers Creek development, is there even an empty office space? So it's kind of a moot point at this juncture.
you never know. I mean, look
Yeah.
at like the makerspace, that went
Right.
out, that could be,
Yeah.
Well, the Seagoat's doing some cool stuff over
Oh,
there.
oh no, I'm not saying they're going out. I'm just saying, that's like that
Something
was
popped open and they
something
grabbed
popped,
it
yeah.
for sure.
So it's
See,
just
was it
more
the
like
Heart of Humboldt? The name of it?
that's where Isaacson's was, right?
Oh, never mind. I was just trying so I could put it in my.
Yeah, it's on Beach and Small Boulevard.
Just up from Richard's Cove Tavern, kind of
And-
corner.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah.
no, it's right on Small Boulevard.
It's two
Like kitty
for-
corner across the road
Del
from
Perdo's.
the pink
That market.
market.
It has also had permitting issues recently.
Huh,
All right.
I'm not seeing it, but that doesn't mean anything.
Cool. Okay, so we'll keep discussing this and listen for concerns among our community.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I think if we just kind of think about the commission at some point, just formalizing a recommendation to the council that, you know,
it's
you
not
talk,
about recommending cannabis so much as just
no,
removing barriers to
very
retail.
exactly, whether it should be allowed, you know, as any other business.
Do we do that verbally or
What
written?
is it?
Well, we got it on as a discussion item here,
Urban
and
market home.
given their current slate, I'd be surprised if they're in a position to take it up.
Right.
But maybe, um, is is there a liaison?
Yeah,
Is that?
Chris, I think Chris is your liaison, but he's sick.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Well, maybe he can take their temperature and figure out when a good time to introduce it would
Yeah.
be.
Did you say Urban Market? Yeah, that's the one. I remember it now.
Oh, like urban?
It's on H Street.
They do pop-up events there or something.
They do.
Just
I, I've been there.
Are there any more comments on item 6? And I'm gonna say we should move on to item 7, business outreach and update on the new Blue Lake businesses discussion. Visit Blue Lake Week discussion and for spring summer events.
Yeah, so I think the makerspace, I don't think they were quite operational because we missed a month of EDC meetings, right?
I think they at least started in April, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So so if you guys haven't had a chance to go by the makerspace, it's super cute and they're just doing a really wonderful job. They're
The
super
hours are, like,
popular.
Thursday, Friday, and
Saturday, Sunday.
Friday, Saturday.
I think it's 12 to 5. She's starting to incorporate more stuff for like the farm stand. She has plans. Right now it's the paint your own pottery.
She's doing something for Mother's Day.
Yeah,
And
she's
the
doing,
logger will honor there's some sort of voucher for
yeah,
I like how she includes other community places to do fun
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. She's done a couple of paint nights with the logger. She does her mosaic training, her classes and things, and then she's working to do a farm stand on the weekends off on the side of the property, and she's been getting some food trucks and I mean, she's just
Good
doing a
energy.
great job. Yeah, really wonderful. Both of them are just really focused on community and providing support for local producers, which is really exciting. She really is dedicated to local, but their pottery has been super popular. I mean, it's,
Have you brought yours in so we could see it?
oh, I should. No,
I can't wait to do it with some of my grandkids.
it's really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds really fun.
Yeah, I mean, you go there and the inside's full, and she's got tables outside, and there's, you know, people are waiting, and
Wow.
so it's gonna be really fun, especially as the weather gets better. They want to do more outside stuff, maybe incorporate the town square, and just really, have something nice for the community. And like I said, supporting local producers as
I've been
well.
looking at their pies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I haven't tried those, but they have these beautiful
Yeah, I
Yes,
saw those
pie
too.
pies.
different flavors, and they also have sourdough bread. And
Oh,
There's bread.
yeah,
I think
honey,
that
local
people
honey.
bring it in and they
Yeah.
sell it. So
Yeah, she's starting to kind of do more of the pop-up farm stand displays and stuff. So, yeah, it's just such a great use of the space. It's really fun to see.
good energy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Very
yeah.
good
We
energy.
needed that.
we did. So yeah, so keep the maker space at the front of your thoughts there. And she does a really good job of marketing too. So she's always got her stuff out and making videos and good marketing.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. And of course, the doghouse opened back up today. So we're super excited about that. We had to work through a few facility upgrades, but we finally made it through. In the end, it really wasn't that much for the length of time Darcy had to stay down, which was super unfortunate. But we,
I did at Roxanne's suggestion hook up with a gal from the small business um
Development Center?
yeah, in
Mhm.
Arcata. Really fun gal. She has some great ideas, and she's going to help me do a web page, and she's going to help me uh design a logbook for money in, money out. Sorry, I'm tired. And also, she has some grant or loan ideas. So some of the things that we wanted to do at the doghouse maybe are set aside because we've had to spend a little money just to get open. But so it's kind of promising that she's shown me some places where we can go look for money.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm really happy you suggested that.
Yeah,
Again,
the SBDC is a great resource for local businesses, and they've
and
expanded in their Arcata. There's a grand opening on April 24th. Um, they'll have, I don't know what all, but
yeah, she spoke really highly of the gal who has the sea goat farm
Oh,
too.
yeah. They've been through the
Mhm.
ringer with permitting and all of it and getting everything structured, and so they definitely have persevered too.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Do we have any other ones that are kind of out
Oh,
there
yes,
sticking around?
we do. So we have another business,
Oh,
hopefully opening May 1st. We have, and I don't know how, well, I'm just going to say it. So Nick Hunt, who lives here in Blue Lake, he is a local, well-known tattoo artist, and he's going to be opening a tattoo shop.
cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
wow.
Yeah, so I believe he's hoping to be open May 1st, and I think it'll be an appointment only, but it will be in the downtown and visible, and so
Does he have a place,
mhm,
or is that a secret?
it's a secret still.
Oh.
But yes, he
Now
does have a
that's
place.
not Nick the bartender, is it? Because his wife is a tattoo artist,
Oh,
and they live in.
maybe.
He's a bartender, and she's a tattoo artist.
He's a tattoo artist also.
Isn't it a
Oh,
small
they're
world?
yeah,
They
they're
have a
very nice
shop in,
people.
I think, Arcata, maybe?
She's at yeah, she's in Arcata.
Yeah.
Maybe. I didn't know he was.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, it
What a
is
exciting.
nice
exciting.
team then that's coming in, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. It'll be a really good use of the space. The space has a lot of constraints, so having something like this makes the most sense. But it's another business in town, and it'll bring people out here. He's very got a lot of followers on his social media and stuff. So
Are they taking up the full site, or is there an option for others to?
I think it'll just be a single, yeah, from what I've seen. But yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, pretty exciting.
Just in
Wow.
time for summer.
I know. We all go get tattoos. We have to go
I've been
support
thinking
him, right?
about the same tattoo for like 6 years, so maybe it's
It
time.
might be time. Yes. Can
Are
get
you
over
really?
it.
What are you going to get?
Well,
Are
I
you
can't
going to
tell
want it
you.
with Opie?
No dogs, no grandkids, no men's names.
No, that's just
Maybe some mule tracks.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
yeah. So that
Hey,
is
that's
kind of
exciting.
yeah.
Visit Blue Lake.
I've done the henna before.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Well,
last very long.
temporary tattoos are fun too.
Yeah, I bet they are.
Yes.
So Visit Blue Lake Week is a discussion we started to have with Parks and Rec and the Chamber. It's something that I've seen other communities do just to kind of kick off or like just kind of focus in on a week. For a small city, sometimes it's hard to, market all these things all the time, but kind of focusing in on a week where we could do some blast marketing and outreach
Okay.
and just really promote our local businesses and kind of connect people. We thought it might be a fun way to um,
Hmm.
create more synergy between businesses as well.
Bring your
But
bike.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's lots of things that we can do just to kind of highlight.
Like the block parties.
No, it would be more like a week of come out to, we would focus like, come out to the doghouse is having these specials this week, and the brewery's having these specials, and the lager's got this going on. But have a week where there's, just
Yeah.
different things that the businesses are doing, whether it's drink specials or food specials or a special event that's bringing people out.
There's
Um,
I'm just going to throw this out there, but the weekend of May 11th, the Blue Lake Saddle Club is doing 2 days of activities at
oh,
the arena. So
right,
the obstacle introduction on
right.
Saturday and the versatility challenge on Sunday.
Mhm.
And then if you guys pick a date, blah, 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 we get to have some event out there
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just something that really highlights Blue Lake, and it would allow us to market it, in different venues, whether it's social media or the Matter Reunion or the Journal, or but really for a small city, we could do some fun
For
stuff and not
sure.
leave anyone out.
Ball games,
Yeah,
skating,
yeah. So
food,
just starting to kind of
splash pad,
splash
splash
that, yeah.
pad.
Yeah, if we can do a farmer's market in there, something at the makerspace, but really just kind of showcase, blast the whole week out of like, you want to come out to Blake this week, and really focus in. So
Are we thinking about doing a farmer's market? We
I think Gloria and those guys are still working on like the Sunday markets like they did last year.
okay.
And then I know Seagoat or the Makerspace is really interested in also pushing more of that and getting things going. So I'm hoping with their energy, can really, kind of make that happen. I think the Makerspace will kind of have their own farmers market, each
Sounds like
week.
it.
And hopefully it can expand,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
kind of combine
Yeah,
the
maybe it
two.
can expand into the town
Yeah,
square.
for sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Great.
That would be a
yeah,
natural flow of
Mhm.
that. Right.
yeah.
What about the brewery? Are we we want to be sure to reach out to them,
Yeah, I'm
you know?
wondering how to do that.
Yeah.
With
And
them.
I thought it was neat that what's her name had applied to the commission here, Economic Development Commission, but then didn't show up and I guess
Well, they needed to advertise it a little bit longer because it'll be for Jake's position. So,
okay.
Jake's not coming back.
no, because he moved. So
Oh,
he's an influencer on social media. So he doesn't have time for us.
is he still out in Maple Creek?
Yeah,
Promoting us?
he's up in Maple Creek promoting a bunch of stuff, and now he's traveling, and Jake, he's
So
always,
all over the map.
yes, he's
Yeah.
always working everything.
Linda,
So
that's who I was thinking. It would be good to get her involved in this Week of Blue Lake thing too.
Would be nice to have more interaction with the
Yeah, they are kind of an anchor tenant over there.
Mhm.
and anything new on the distillery? Are they going to expand at some point? Or
I don't know. I haven't had a lot of contact with Michael and Barbara, but we would definitely want to include all of them, in this. I mean, that's kind of the idea, is to kind of
Yeah.
create,
For sure.
that extra marketing push. So people who may not know what's out here, we can connect them up, but hopefully also trying to connect the businesses to each other a little bit more too.
Well, they do tours and tastings at both places. It might an ad hoc committee to go inspect these businesses and just kind of see what we can learn.
I enjoy tasting.
Hey, and Paradise K too. Go
Mhm.
check them out. And they always have a shot of something to hand over.
Friday's tequila.
Friday's
Yeah.
tequila.
Everyone knows Shots Friday.
And the tasting room, I don't know if Joel's opening the tasting room on weekends, usually around 1 on Saturdays during the season. It's warming up.
Yeah. Yeah. So it
So
would
the
also,
the Week of Blue Lake would definitely want to be when it gets a little for sure warm and
yeah, yeah, I'm
tastings
thinking,
are
like
on and
kind of end of spring, moving
yeah.
into summer. But it also gives us time to try and get everyone together, and that's why we wanted to do it with the chamber, because the chamber really, is trying to reach out to businesses too, and
That would be great to just have this overall welcome.
mhm.
It's for all the different
Can't we
business.
all just get along?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
No
would be
hate
good.
Blue Lake. Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah, I think we could come up with enough things to promote a week.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be the museum. We're going to try to be open for the block party.
Oh, good.
And so we'll do that, but I don't know when we're officially going to be open.
Sale date yet.
June something.
Okay.
But we kind of are like things are not growing.
No,
Yeah, it's a little stunted, huh? Hannah's doing a plant sale pop up over across.
Oh, she is?
Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty cool. She's got all
succulents
kinds of stuff
and
for sale.
veggie starts and flowers and succulents, and she's working on Mother's Day gift baskets and ideas.
No, I've never been over there, and that's one I need to. And she used to be Arcata Florist.
Yeah, she's still Arcata Florist.
Oh, she is,
Mm.
but not in Arcata.
She still
No.
has her Google Doc.
She hasn't been in Arcata since COVID. She had triplets during COVID.
In fifth grade.
They were like, yeah.
It was just
What was she
So
thinking?
she
she
couldn't do home Zoom school and run a
so
business.
she opened it in her house and she's been doing it ever since.
Where is it located?
Just right across the park.
Next
right
door
here.
to Ed Rasmussen in
Oh,
in
Jim
okay.
between.
Thacker's old house.
Yeah.
Oh, in the Thacker's house.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that
No,
That
well,
helps me.
Rasmussen's is Thacker's old house. It's the
Jim
one
built
next door.
the next one.
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna have to go cruise after our meeting.
The Knight's old house.
Yeah, but Jim built that.
Oh, he did?
Jim
Oh,
Thacker.
you would know.
Mm-hmm.
But didn't Thacker live in Ed's house too?
No,
No,
he
he
lived
did.
up on the
No,
hill.
he lived up on the hill. Yeah.
His parents lived up on the hill.
Hmm. And then Jim built the other house on the hill.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Right.
Spring summer events. We're still looking at some Parks and Rec stuff. We're gonna do a big bingo night in May for the bike park. We're gonna do it at Crash Hall, and we'll probably get it out here fairly soon because we want to try and sell like I'm hoping we can do 300 people. It's kind of our goal because we're trying to raise at least $10,000 to put into the bike park. So that's one of our events. And
You're
then
gonna
of
have
course,
uh drawings for
yeah, we're gonna do different things, try and get some nice auction items and
Yeah.
things, and so yeah, so we'll be doing that with RCMBA and Humboldt Skate Collective, and so that should be fun. And then we'll be moving into Fourth of July into Annie and Mary Days planning, and it all, it just happens so quickly and catches up with us really quickly. So
yes, it does.
And they'll have summer camp over there.
yep, we'll have summer camp. We've got great camp going on right now. So kids in the park, baseball started.
And well, that is
Yeah.
exciting and a lot. Um, there is no public here to comment on item 7.
Can I ask one question? And that is, when's the Enduro?
That's I think in September.
I
It's
know
kind of the end.
my
Yeah.
nephew,
Oh yeah,
he's like on me.
right.
They live up in Portland, and it's like,
Yeah.
so let me know when it's going to be so I can get on there and get a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
Yeah, I think they send out. I would, if I was him, I would
Yeah, it goes quick.
get on RCMBA's social media because once they put it out, it goes like in half a day or something.
Signups?
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredibly.
Should they do 2 a year?
They've talked about it. It's a lot of work.
And it's volunteers.
Yeah. But they do a kids enduro now, and then they do
Oh.
this one, and this one has, has a kids component as well. But yeah, it's pretty popular.
It's really
so beautiful
neat.
out
It
there.
is
Yeah.
really neat. Yeah.
It's a cool event.
Hmm.
Are
So
we
is
on 8?
there anything else on item 7, or are we moving on to item 8?
I'm
The
good.
City of Blue Lake project updates discussion, Blue Lake Community Visioning, strategic plan, and Powers Creek.
Yeah, so the Visioning Strategic Plan Council is looking to work on some strategic planning. So I think that'll be a good opportunity for us to kind of maybe wrap some of this together. I'm looking for a facilitator right now to try and find someone who can help them through the process because they're going to need, someone who's got that experience to be able to work through things and then, help them come out at the end with something that's, tangible and workable.
Didn't we have person help us at one point, Heather?
We had Heather, yeah. So I'll reach out to Heather as well, and I've reached out to the other city managers to see if they know.
Area Foundation might have something.
Yeah. So we're working on that. The Powers Creek District, lots of stuff going on there. We talked about the BEST project and um, the Bottawat mixed use development project is moving through, getting ready to go to the Planning Commission. Um, it's a, it's a really great project. Lots of opportunity for commercial retail space. It's all designed to integrate with the bike park, meet all of the regulations in our opportunity zone. So the CEQA reports have all been completed and the analysis. So that should be going to the Planning Commission here very shortly, hopefully. And that will kind of lead us into next steps with that project. What else is going on in Powers Creek District? Oh, we talked today a little bit about
We
the
have a
bike
lot of
park.
stuff going over there construction wise. If they could theoretically be dismantling the plant,
Yeah,
zoning that
yeah,
project, and doing the habitat
yeah,
restoration.
yeah,
Well, they'd
hopefully.
have a need a traffic cop over there.
Yeah, right. Oh, and they are getting their demo permit for the Calgon carbon plant. So they have a
Oh.
contractor
Oh.
for that. So that's going to be, um, they could be starting that here very
Who's
shortly.
they?
The carbon, the
The people who
owners.
own that?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
do they own the property?
That's a barrier to selling it or
Yeah.
repurposing it, I think, is
Yeah,
nobody
we
knows
got to
what the
get that
cleanup is going to
down.
cost. Yeah, they
Mm.
have to do it. And if you're trying to develop something, that adds a whole other layer of complicated
Yeah. So
expenses.
they
So they're
wanted to
doing
get
that
that taken
themselves.
down too. They didn't
Well,
want
it's been
anyone.
listed for sale for years.
Yeah.
A lot of interest in it. There's just been some issues with selling it because of what people want to use it for. They want to, use it for mixed use development, basically residential, retail, commercial. And they were just a little bit concerned because it had been a prior industrial site that there could be some legacy contamination and stuff. So they were really moving slowly through a kind of methodical process. But the biggest step is leveling the site, cleaning it up, and then, looking.
So they would demolish everything?
Oh
or
yeah,
j-
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. No,
That'll
it'll
be
be
a
coming
nice
down here
site.
and it probably will start within the month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful spot.
Oh, it's a great site. Yeah. Yeah. You couldn't pick a better site, really. So right on the river and the view going up the North Fork and
Yeah, we'll
got
hear
a
it.
lot of great potential.
Okay,
So yeah.
so more
Hmm.
trucks coming through town.
For a while.
Yeah, but that's exciting to see that um, get new life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's another just nuisance property. It gets vandalized constantly, broken into.
Well, it hasn't operated in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a really long time. I mean, it's surprisingly in good shape. We toured it
Mhm.
the other day and went through it.
Uh,
The offices are all still intact and stuff, but it just is a single purpose.
It's attracting graffiti.
So, yeah, it's got a lot of graffiti. So yeah, so hopefully we'll be pulling off the tarps on the bike park. It's here soon and starting back up um, on work and fundraising for that project. We're hoping to do some pop-up days, maybe going into June, where we can, let the kids and people come down and ride. We'll have to do it kind of, controlled because, we don't have all the fencing and stuff up yet, but it's very much rideable. Um, it's,
When
a
it's
lot of work
done,
done.
will it have fencing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because we don't want any kids or anyone popping out into the road, so it'll
Okay.
be fenced. Yeah.
All the way around?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of designed eventually for the trail to connect into the bike park to kind of spur off. And
Uh-huh.
maybe there'll be like a feature that takes you into the bike park, like a pump track. So, kid, coming off the trail on your bike, you could like go on a pump track and then drop into the bike park or off your skateboard or scooter or anything. So,
oh, I wish
yeah,
I were young again.
it's super
Yeah.
cool. Like,
It's
it
amazing.
is really amazing. So, yeah, so that's about
Yeah.
what I got on that.
Okay, so moving on to was there a chamber meeting, Justin?
Do you wait for a microphone to come on? See if it comes on.
Testing.
Testing.
Do you want to turn on? And I think we have a microphone. Yep. Okay. Yes, there was a meeting. We actually have a new member.
Oh,
Really happy about it. It's Adeline.
happy.
Yeah. She decided to join. We're very happy to have finally have her. Um, Talking about doing a winter social event in September. Um, Talking about the grand reopening of the doghouse. So we want to do like a ribbon cutting because, well, the last ribbon cutting got to do was so fun. I wanted to do another one.
I never have had a grand opening of the doghouse since
Oh,
I've been there,
well,
so
guess what?
we're due.
Um,
Yeah. Pictures.
so yeah, I was checking with Darcy. And we're talking middle of May, just not on Mother's Day. Um, and then roundabout sign. Well, we all would love to do another roundabout sign, but city council is hung up on the whole logo thing. So
The
we have to wait
logo
until
is okay.
to wait for the logo thing to get figured out because, well, we're going to include the logo, but hard to include a logo when it hasn't been approved.
Can you leave a button for the logo to be put in later? I mean, that takes
I
a
think
lot of work from the sign, though. It's
Kind
kind of like putting
having
a
a
blank sign.
metal sign made,
Yeah.
then it's kind of yeah. Anyway, then the website. Of course, we're trying to figure out people to update that and all that fun stuff. Um, and that's pretty much about the extent of it for us.
It's a lot.
The gal from the Small Business Bureau,
SBDC.
SBDC, I'm sorry, uh, has a place that she suggests uh, to help build those websites, and she gave me the name. And she said it's just like pretty easy and
You can
probably
populate
like Wix
yourself.
or
Is that
something
how it works?
like
Or
that.
you can populate the information yourself and not
Yeah, yeah.
change
We
it.
actually share the same as with the city. We use the same person that the city uses for
Oh,
their website.
okay.
So
Oh,
we already have someone that does it. It's
good.
just trying to get it updated. Um,
With
Obviously
fresh
costs money.
pictures and
Mhm.
yeah.
We
New business of the year.
yeah, business of the decade now for Darcy.
Oh, I'm timed out on that.
But yes,
I'll pull
that's the
back on
process. Just time and I'll stop now so we can get Mandy out of here so she can have a life.
I'm like, I gotta go feed my
Yeah.
dog.
Item 10, the city manager and staff report, park and rec schedule, event schedule update. Have we covered?
I think
much
we've talked about
did
all
that.
of it.
I
Yeah,
think
Yeah.
so. Answered. Moving
Yeah.
on to announcements. We've got the plant sale in June, probably. Doghouse is open. Ribbon cutting. There's another business opening, maybe May 1st. That's exciting. And any other announcements? Going twice. Future agenda items. Nothing came up during this discussion, so I think there's nothing else. We'll have a motion to adjourn.
I can make that motion.
We're thank you.
Thank